rain. And we are ready to go for our Week 6 matchup here in the Blue Otter Master League. I'm Isaac. Alongside me tonight is Finbach for this matchup between Ember Ignite and Lane Zero Blizzard. Finbach, for these two teams, this series is probably one of the more important ones coming to the end of the season, as top 5 makes playoffs, and while top 3 secures a first round bye. Ember Ignite kind of sitting on the bubble, currently tied for 3rd in the Bandle City group. Meanwhile, Lane Zero, with the win here, go to 6-0 and secure themselves a top 2 spot and guarantee that first round bye.
Oh yeah, it's always good to go undefeated in a whole season going into playoffs. It's also just nice to win in the last week right before playoffs and go into your first best of 5 with some extra momentum.
Yeah, and so Ember Ignite definitely going to be up against the wall. Luckily for them, they have at the very least secured playoffs, as the bottom 2 teams of the Bandle City group are yet to pick up a win in their seasons and are unable to get to up to as far as 4th places, which Ember currently sits. Ember Ignite, I should specify, as they are actually technically tied with their sister team, Ember Phantom 5. Which is, it's always a little bit of an awkward spot, especially considering that last spot does have some pretty big impact on how the playoffs will go.
Oh, it's got to be leading to some fun banter in their server, though.
Yeah.
Whoever wins gets all the glory.
Yeah, and so coming into the first round of bans, a lot of focus in the bottom lane. Ashe, Senna, Draven, and Nico all taken off the board. Nico definitely going to, they're almost 99% going to be a support pick, not only because that's where it's been played recently, but Eclipse for Lane Zero Blizzard. Very much a Nico player, a huge Nico enjoyer, and with the Karma rounding out the bans for Lane Zero Blizzard, I should suspect with how much focus we've gotten towards the bottom lane, we should be seeing some ADC or support pickups early on.
Yeah, definitely. I expect to see a couple of strong duos come out in probably this first 3 for both sides. Get a really... Oh, actually, we might see a mage picked up here for Hui.
All right.
I can get down with that, but I would not be shocked to see Blizzard respond with kind of a conventional strong duo, especially because 5 champions are already taken out of that bot lane pool.
Yeah, it's also a little bit of a takeaway from Griffin on Lane Zero Blizzard, it being a fearless draft. Even though I haven't seen too much Hui in the match history of Mitch, being able to take one of the favorited champions out of the hands of who you're facing going to be feeling pretty good as the series goes on. But then the response with the blind Camille on R1 from lane 0 Blizzard is, I would be honest, I did not see that coming. That's thrown a curveball right at this draft.
I'm into it. I mean, Hui is pretty susceptible to people who can just get on top of him, and the Hextech Ultimatum is very good at getting right on top of you. One little fear, one little root's only going to do so much. Pair it up with the Jin for a little extra follow-up over the top with that Curtain Call or the Deadly Flourish, and you're looking pretty good for a little dive comp.
Yeah, and Galio still on the board. The classic combination with Camille, the Hextech Ultimatum, makes it impossible for whoever you ult to be able to get out of the hero's entrance, the ultimate of Galio, ensuring that you get the lockup onto at least one. And the fact that Galio's ult is semi-global can be quite effective, but Poppy also can do a pretty good job of denying Camille her ultimate. The Steadfast Presence doesn't quite stop it, since Camille does go unstoppable, but charge up the ult, knock her away, and then it doesn't matter that you're stuck in spot.
Yeah, Poppy's just a good response to the Camille. She will stop that wall dive short, which means she might not be able to get in range to activate that ultimatum onto an ideal target. And then even if she does, yeah, Keeper's Verdict can just punt her away. And then we have Yunara locked in as well for Ignite. Just a pretty strong overall AD carry. Jin's not going to be too much of a threat in lane. Yunara should be able to take pretty good trades.
Yeah, and also with the Poppy, it is a bit of a flex pick as well. Can go up into the top lane. Rexalis plays a lot of this champ. We haven't seen a lot of Poppy top in recent years, but into the Camille, as you mentioned, with the ability to use the steadfast presence into the hook shot, can deny Camille what she wants to do to close that gap. Also, in the support role and jungle, has been played quite a bit. Support, more of a situational sort of thing if heavy engage is locked in, but in the meantime, Syndra going to be the response to the Hui for lane 0.
Yeah, seems pretty good to me. Hui has a very hard time dodging that QE combo, no mobility, pretty low base move speed. I wouldn't call him the strongest laner, especially into another traditionally more trade-heavy mage like Syndra.
Yeah, and also with how relatively low range, other than the Hui, with the Poppy and the Yunara, that Ember Ignite do have, definitely helps when it comes to landing your scatter the weak as well. And when you got the CC of the Camille and the Jin on such a single target, it's going to be really easy to for the Syndra to follow up to unleash that full spell rotation to do absolutely insane amounts of damage going into the second round of bans. Kha'Zix and the Nasus taken off the board. Nasus is a champion that I've yet to been able to cast in the jungle, but definitely has been rising in priority as a jungle champion, Finbach.
I was going to say, even in the Gold and Plat matches I've been casting recently, I've heard rumblings of this Nasus jungle. I also have not seen it yet, but maybe as we get further into the series, we might be seeing it in Game 2 or Game 3.
It's been played a bit in the LCS and LEC by Griffin, and gosh, wait, no, I remember. No, I don't. But either way, definitely at the highest level has been starting to make appearances, and naturally, the pro scene does have a way of trickling down into all levels across the board, because, I mean, ever since Faker started picking Anivia at Worlds last year, all of a sudden this champion has gone from, without any changes, mind you, to the champion, from one that people considered completely useless to all of a sudden a must-have in any mid laner's arsenal. But continuing out the rounds of bans, complete focus in the jungle with Kindred and Xin Shao taken off the board.
Yeah, it looks like they are not buying that Poppy is going to be headed into the jungle for the side of Ember Ignite, and I suppose that's a pretty fair assessment. I wouldn't be surprised to see it into the Camille. I think it's actually a pretty surprisingly good matchup for the Poppy. She has a very strong early game, deceptively, with the Hammer Shock.
Yeah, I think some of the moments I think back to of Poppy having strong early lanes was Licorice in around 2018 and 2019-ish, locking in the Hail of Blades Poppy up in the top lane and surprising quite a few people. It's obviously been quite a while since then. Actually, about 7 years since then. Looking at the date on my computer, it can't have been that long ago. Oh my god, wait. Hold up a second. While I
It's
have an
been quite a
existential
while.
crisis. As I have an existential crisis, Nocturne as lock-in for Ember Ignite all but ensures that the Poppy is in fact going to be headed into the top lane or support, and as they are on the blue side in the final round of picks, we'll have that eventually locked into you. But Trundle was the option for lane 0.
Yeah, it looks to be probably just a good response to the Poppy. Just able to
Yeah.
subjugate and take away a whole lot of health, armor, MR. Make Trundle as strong as possible. We do have a blank pick here. Hopefully we'll find out what that is quickly. It's Lulu. Okay. So Lulu are blue 5 for Ember Ignite.
Okay. So yeah, Lulu alongside the Yunara. I mean,
Standard.
that's just that's just how it goes.
Yeah.
There we go. Thank you, Soul, for filling that in and filling in where the teams missed out. Got a rotation around Darius, the final hover with not a long time left. Essentially, go right back to the Mundo up in the top lane.
So that means this is
going
Camille
up against
support.
It is.
Very interesting.
That is. I mean, she has a stun that is somewhat reliable.
I think it's a pretty good bait. Like I said, I think the Poppy is actually a really good matchup into the Camille, and now it's one that Camille just kind of gets to avoid for as long as possible. She'll be on the complete other side of the map, able to make life difficult for Lulu and Yunara if she's able to get through the few early levels where the range advantage is going to really hurt.
Yeah, and it's been a while since I've seen Camille support played. Probably roughly around the same time that I was mentioning earlier, and then I again will have another existential crisis about how long I've been sitting around this game. But Camille lock-in as a support, it obviously is a bit aggressive and does have some utility throughout the game, but Camille a lot more reliant on these more expensive items and not exactly the most common in the support role. So it'll be interesting to see how Eclipse pilots that one. I'm not completely sold by it yet, but being able to follow up with a Deadly Flourish, maybe they've got some they've been cooking something in their bot lane that we are going to be able to enjoy.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's always fun to see something off meta come out and see someone who's probably been working on it for quite a while just be able to show off, like, hey, here's my pick, I'm just going to slap this Camille support on R1. What are you going to do about it? And maybe it was intended to be top, and then they flexed it to the support, in which case, hey, that's also pretty cool. But, I mean, we'll have to see. I don't think either of these team comps really screams like I won draft coming right off the page. So we'll have to see what kind of early game we see out of both teams to see kind of which way the scales might tip.
But we will find out how that goes after the spectator delay. But until then, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we'll have loaded onto the Rift for Game 1 between Ember Ignite and Lane 0 Blizzard in the Blue Otter Master League. So don't go anywhere. We'll see you in a little bit. and we have loaded on to the Rift for Game 1 between Ember, Ignite, and Lane 0 Blizzard here in the Blue Otter Master League. And I will say, so we'd like to give Soul a warm welcome, but I will say maybe we could hit some Control Shift Z, and then zoom out a little bit, because that's more typically what we are accustomed to when as an observer. Yes, these are
see a little more of the map that way.
Yeah,
a little more action approaching. Now we can even see Nocturne over there in his red jungle.
Yeah, and actually, interestingly, clearing from bot to top these days, not exactly the most common move from junglers. We usually see that top to bot clearance and a lot of focus towards the bottom lane. So let's see how that plays out. Also, another thing for our new producer who is slowly getting into it. At some point, a little bit more, maybe we could turn usernames on as opposed to champion names. Going forward, I mean, it is. See, at this point, you're not even heard, but it is what it is. We make do with what it is, and it's a learning process. But that is how typically things go, and hopefully that will be rectified for Game 2. But until then, we'll continue as is with. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, Mitch going to be taken down to about half HP.
Pretty good trade back though. Hui's early game not necessarily great. He can harass like a melee champion pretty well, but Syndra does have a lot of range to play with compared to the Hui.
Look at the top side jungle, blue side jungle, yeah, random player going to be forced away. Pirla goes up, forced to flash follow from Ready under the tower, not quite enough to secure the kill onto the Trundle. And so now with the roam over from Mitch, first blood is all but a formality to Ember Ignite.
Oh, that one canceled auto is going to haunt Riddy for at least a minute there. That's tough. It very easily could have been a 1-for-1, but just a slight mechanical misplay there in the early game.
Yeah, could have very easily been absolutely massive for the side of Lane 0 Blizzard had the kill gone through, had already been able to escape. But meanwhile, in the bot lane, Yunara taking down half HP, Eclipse finding a way in, holding on to the Ignite, not going to fully threaten an all-in, and the return damage on the escape means that Eclipse taking down half HP and has gotten the Hail of Blades on the Camille, so really looking to generate huge leads in this bottom lane through outright aggression.
Oh, absolutely. Camille is a champion that kind of needs to force those all-ins, kind of like Pyke without a hook. It's more of a dive version of Pyke, really.
We'll get a look at that. Another player into the jungle. The spell shield will stop the deadly flourish route, and so Loker will be the first one to get the kill. But going forward, flash, fourth shot from the Jhin, not quite going to get the kill, but the bouncing grenade does in fact claim it for Rex's. Deadly flourish not going to hit the mark yet again. Barrier pulled up by Rex's, but it won't survive long enough. Nutty going to be the one to claim the kill, but overwild into the bottom lane. Mitch running as fast as possible, had already used the flash, will land the fear, and so now Griffin stuck in between towers with Nutty roaming on down with a few auto attacks remaining, will surely give a kill over to the ADC of Ember Ignite. Polymorph comes through, and finally, Nutty one will slay Griffin.
That's a couple of pretty aggressive plays, and neither of them have really panned out in the favor of Blizzard here. I think they might need to slow down the tempo a little bit, try and get things stabilized before they look for another big invade like that.
Yeah, and as a result, random player, though he has been slowed down quite a bit on his clear, and with the Nocturne, they're obviously the level 6 is that very big power by getting access to the Paranoia, but so far ahead of Ready in terms of farm, and with those assists should be very comfortably ahead on the experience, getting to said level 6.
Yeah, the Syndra really likes to stay in lane, does have good roaming potential, but the ability to just kind of trade and harass from such a long distance makes her just really valuable. To leave in that mid lane, gather up a bunch of farm, deny as much as possible. She's done a good job of that, but Hui has made a profit off of these invades that have just gone a little bit sideways.
You know, 1-0-3 on the way, has a lost chapter in their inventory as a result. Very nice power spike for any mid laner who builds that first. It just makes it very easy to just sling spells comfortably and not really have to worry about mana, while also giving you a decent amount of power. But with this aggressive bot lane that Lane Zero have drafted for themselves, despite the earlier mishaps, it still pushes out Nutty One and Loker quite a bit. And as Rudy arrives over to the first strike, it will very handedly go to the side of Lane Zero Blizzard.
Yeah, Blizzard with this bot lane, this Jhin and Camille are going to be able to get Prio really easily just because their all-in is really, really strong. Yunara really needs to get to a Kraken Slayer before she's going to be able to match the amount of burst that they can do, and she needs kind of a longer fight to do it as well.
Yeah, that being said, 2 kills does make up for the CS deficit towards getting that first item. So not all doom and gloom in the bot lane, and also Yunara Lulu inevitably going to outscale the Jhin Jhin Camille at some point, especially around 3 items is what we'll be looking for from Nutty One.
Absolutely. Yunara will have to do kind of a lot of the team's damage. Hui will contribute, and Nocturne will contribute a little bit, but Hui's got a lot more utility and just kind of long-range poke and control mage general stuff. He'll do a lot of damage if he gets ahead, but so far I think he'll just be contributing kind of a normal amount. The team fights are definitely going to run through the Yunara and the Transcend oneself.
Yeah, big reason why Fiend Hunter Bolts is a very common purchase on the Yunara, with how impactful her ultimate is, kind of similar to Zeri in that regard, or even the Twitch as well, getting those empowered auto attacks, the ability to move around and really start to run away with fights. Another one of those level 6s, but speaking of level 6s, take an eye on the left side of your screen. Random player now hitting the paranoia mark for his level 6. That first one, always such a big usage of it. Where do we suspect that random player may be headed? My eyes are towards the bottom lane without having any flashes, or the mid onto the relatively immobile Syndra.
I was going to say, I think the mid lane is probably your best angle here. It looks like Blizzard might be sniffing it out a little bit. They have Camille and Mundo hanging out in the area. But Syndra has no mobility. If you get her to burn that Scout of the Week, Nocturne is just going to run her down, and there's very little she can do about it.
The mid lane, you obviously mentioned the Camille, but also Ready moving up. 3 members of both teams hanging around, suspecting that there will be action in the mid lane, with 2 immobile mages without flashes as Scatter the Weak lands. Camille follows up with the hookshot, not quite going to get the stun as the Paranoia comes through, targeting on to Griffin. Kill finally goes down to go the way of Ember. Ignite, double kill for random player who isn't quite able to get out, but Riddy finds himself on the wrong side of the map, and Mitch will make it a 3-for-1 to Ember Ignite to send them 2k gold up.
And we still got a play going on here. Rexala's getting run down by Rainy.
Rainy going to use the maximum dosage to ensure that the low health bar doesn't matter all that much. And through all of that, you notice at the top of your screen, Nutty One finding a solo kill onto Rex's.
Yep, Rex's just doesn't really have a lot of tools to escape from a Yunara who's able to... Just has a lot of chase time potential in the kit. The extra dash from Transcend oneself, her little speed buff, got a lot of slows. And Jhin just doesn't really have a ton of damage yet. He really needs to get one of those crit items before he's going to start being a big threat in a 1v1.
He's actually going for the lethality build on the Jhin. Before we get to that, another gank to the top side of the map. Rainy had not recalled, so going to be feared up. Eventually, random player the one to claim it. A very easy gank for the Nocturne.
As a top laner myself, sometimes you just get greedy for the wave. You don't think about where the jungler could be. But he's always there. He's always waiting.
Yep, that is... I mean, yeah, that is the top laner mentality. Trying to make it a 1-for-1 as much as possible. I mean, it's not only top laners who greed for waves. I feel like that's just an everybody sort of thing, because especially ADCs to mid waves as the game goes on, like towards like the mid and late game. It's just it is the I forget who described it as a gateway drug. Was it Rue? I think who said it was a gateway drug.
It could be.
I'm not quite sure to what. I haven't gotten that answer yet. What the gateway of mid lane waves
It leads you somewhere.
as an
Somewhere
ADC,
you don't want to be.
Maybe I'm too innocent of a League player yet to, despite the fact I've played 7 years, to know what that's a gateway to. But that aside, next Drake spawning in 8 seconds. The top of the screen will say Ocean Drake, but that's not always the case because small indie company hasn't updated the Hex Tech or Kim Tech icons into the game yet, at least in the Observer. So whenever these two junglers do show up on the bottom half, okay, it is the Ocean Drake. Cool.
Yeah, I was just gonna say a little rune popped up in the Dragon Pit, so we're looking all good there. I mean, I would expect that this is going to be pretty easy to grab for Ignite. They do have a 3k gold lead already. Not a ton of prio, but definitely stronger in a fight should one break out.
Yeah, and random players, Paranoia has come back off cooldown, so we'll have access to the Nocturne ultimate should a fight break out, allowing him to arrive quicker. And considering how much hovering is going around this Drake, it started up now by the side of lane 0 Blizzard. There's vision on that brush, so the play will be spotted. Paranoia comes through deep in from random player and smites it away, picks up a kill on the side of Nutty One as well. So the side of lane 0, if full retreat, will be able to get the 3 surviving members out of there. But not only does Ember Ignite claim the Drake, they also pick up a kill in the process.
Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't pull the trigger earlier. Poppy was called down with that teleport, kind of just a little late. I would have liked to see maybe like 5 seconds earlier on that channel, but they did take advantage of the fact that Poppy was able to show up to the fight and Dr. Mundo couldn't.
Yeah, and yes, strict numbers advantage, but also an incredible smite from random player through all the chaos that the Paranoia brings. And, well, I guess the paranoia that the Paranoia, you know, it was right there.
Oh yeah, great secure, absolutely.
Either way, it is the Kim Tech map, and this is what I mean. If you take a look at what I meant earlier, because you see at the top left of your screen, obviously it is impossible for it to be the Ocean map, yet it still says the Ocean Drake is up and available, but, you know, make do. Just keep as a mental note that it is in fact the Kim Tech map, and with the fancy Scryer's blooms that should be, you know, I don't even know what the words I'm looking for. Readily obvious, I suppose, to the observers.
As soon as we see someone go flying 2 miles from a blast cone, we'll be like, ah yes, Chemtech.
Ah yes, yeah. Yeah, and since it is that Kim Tech map, both teams splitting the first 2 Drakes. But in terms of teams, I would absolutely love the Kim Tech Soul. On the side of lane 0 Blizzard, I mean, you've got a Mundo, you've got a Trundle. That is, they can get their hands on that. Obviously, probably not going to be so easy as they are 3.5k gold down, but in the hypothetical situation that they do pick up a Kim Tech Soul, it'd be absolutely massive for them.
Oh, absolutely. The only soul they probably like better is Ocean.
Yeah.
Actually, surprisingly good on the Camille, too, because if she dives in and gets low, she becomes that much harder to finish off while doing a little bit of extra damage.
Yeah, that's... I mean, yeah, but also, I don't know, support Camille is going for a more traditional, like, build, despite being completely gate-kept by gold as the top lane tier 1 goes down. Rexall is kind of sticking around. Two very meaty champions up there that won't be... speaking all too much, but I got baited, but what will be a bit troublesome, Ready waiting in the wings, also known as the top side bot lane. Brush will show his face now. The wild growth used immediately. Hextech ultimatum drops onto Loker. The curtains are called. 4th shot hits its way onto the Lulu, but enough space has been bought for Nutty One and Loker to escape. Nocturne going to be arriving. Random player does have access to the Paranoia. Some of these health bars are relatively low on the side of lane 0. We also have Mitch roaming down. Bit patient. Paranoia called now right as the recall went through. Eclipse removed from the map. They can't quite find their way onto Rexus, though. Does escape in that middle bot lane bush, so it is only the 1 kill to the side of Ember Ignite.
Yeah, really good disengage. Just able to interrupt a lot of what Camille was trying to do there. Wild growth interrupting the wall dive. But the Camille couldn't
Griffin
immediately follow up with that
in
ultimatum
trouble.
to trap. Ooh, yeah.
Deadly Flourish going to hit its way onto Nutty. One Poga goes up, separates out the Yunara. The Trundle chomping down on her. Shutdown goes way over to Riddy, and the second going to the hand of Griffin, but is traded back by the side of Random Player. So 2 for 1 to the side of Lane 0 Blizzard. But 2 shutdowns puts them a little bit closer into this one. Doesn't look like they're giving up to Surely. We just back away, guys, right? There we go. Okay.
Yeah, let's slow down for a minute. We got a dragon coming up in less than a minute. We want to make sure we can get control. We really want to get these dragons stacking for the side of Blizzard. They want to get to that Chemtech Soul if possible. And a 3 Chemtech Soul for a Dr. Mundo and a Trundle has got to feel really good if they can get there.
If they can do next Drake spawning in 35 seconds, but considering Lane 0 are almost 3k gold down, which to be fair is a lower gold deficit than they were experiencing before. Not going to be the easiest of tasks for them. However, Riddy is here in the bot half of the map. Will have the early setup advantage, especially as that upgraded Scryer's Bloom does come through. Lane 0 first to the river, first to lay down the vision to make it a little bit darker for the side of Ember Ignite. Nocturne coming forward, pushing into the midst of everyone. Hook shot going to miss everyone, and then a good use of the Poppy ult to separate out Griffin from the rest of the team. And without their mid laner, Dr. Mundo taking down relatively low maximum dosage already used. Unleashed power finds its way onto the play, but not enough to secure the kill. Syndra going out to flash away from Random Player, who does try to follow up with his own flash. Curtains are called in. The forest shot lands its way onto Mitch to be able to trade back a kill in favor of Lane 0. And Nocturne taken very low. Rex is very healthy, but so is Nutty. One scattered away. It's going to hit its mark onto Rexalis, but check your taking over back to the right side of the screen. Rexus pushes his luck just a bit too far. And that's 2 kills to the side of Ember Ignite. Health bars are relatively low. Eclipse back in this fight at full health. Riddy moving over to it. Recall had to come through out of Rexalis to make it a 3v3. Teleport now coming down from Rainy. Going to revive. Camille coming in. Drops a Hextech ultimatum. Dies for her sins. Too far ahead. Eclipse disjointed from the rest of the side of Ember Ignite.
It's the fight that never ends. We just keep re-engaging. The 3v3, I kind of liked it, but at the same time, you're diving a little too deep for the rest of your team to be able to follow up. Trundle doesn't have the ability to follow a Camille that far.
At the very least, there is some claim to some return for the side of Lane 0 Blizzard. Rainy picking up that mid lane tier 1 tower to open up the map a little bit more. And to be fair, Rainy has been left alone quite a bit, stacking up that health quite nicely despite the 2 deaths so far in this game. I also like to apologize. I did call Lane 0 Blizzard Ember Ignite. Had the name mixed up in that last fight, but it is what it is. Dr. Mundo is still almost sitting at that second item where yeah, no, we've seen some late game Dr. Mundo shenanigans, and being able to get there is quite devastating.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that Ember Ignite really has the best team to kill him, but we got to play on Rexalis here.
Yeah. Going to be yeeting Riddy away. Rexalis still delaying as long as possible. Scatherweek hits the mark. Deadly Flourish follows up as well. Shutdown going to be claimed by Rexus, presumably with the bouncing grenade or the 4th shot, but with 4 members on the side of Lane 0 Blizzard towards the bottom of the map, that does mean the Rift Herald left completely open, going to be claimed by Ember, and they'll take the top lane tier 1 as well.
Yeah, good counterplay. I mean, Rexalis was able to buy so much time with that Keeper's Verdict. They had to juggle the aggro a lot. They had to let it reset a couple of times just to be able to actually finish off that extremely tanky Heartsteel Poppy. So plenty of time to finish off that Rift Herald. They'll be able to take it probably to mid lane and take a couple of towers with the Cryo there.
And on top of the top lane tier 1, we'll be feeling okay, all things considered. Excuse me. Yeah. Rexus, though, going to be completing the Collector and picking up a BF sword on that recall. It is going to be feeling quite good. A pretty solid spike of power for the Jhin. But getting close to that point, 7-1 and 2, Nutty 1, not quite at the 3 items for the Yunara, but very close. And Nutty 1 does get that recall off, does get the LDR fully online. Be a bit of a menace for the side of lane 0-2 handle.
I'm not sure if that's going to be the LDR or if they're looking to get the Mortal Reminder, because there is an awful lot of healing.
Actually,
and
yeah.
Yar's a good applier.
Yeah, and hold up the ult, goes down on to the Jhin. Nutty 1 secures the kill. 8th kill of the game for the Yunara. Double kill as well. Unleashed power from Griffin. Going to take Mitch down to 30% HP, but Yunara and Lulu come forward. Nutty 1 looking for a triple kill. Has the speed from the transcendence of oneself. Auto attack does claim it. 10 kills for Nutty 1. And 19 to the side of Ember Ignite. Send them up about 4.5k gold once again. And talking about being able to fully recall with an item, 2,000 gold as a result. When you're feeling really good for Nutty 1.
Yeah, it's looking like the name is not misleading for Nutty 1. He's having a really good game. Does actually end up getting the Lord Dominic's regards here, so will not be applying the Grievous Wounds, but I suppose the healing hasn't been too much of a problem for them just yet.
Yeah, and does look like the Grievous Wounds will be coming through Mitch anyway. Almost has the Oblivion Orb in their inventory.
Oh yeah, plenty of AoE.
Yeah, so I don't think they're too much lacking on that front. And well, with the LDR and the Grievous Wounds being applied onto everybody from Mitch, I think that's more than enough damage to eventually cut through Rainy, even if, especially right now, but even if Rainy starts getting a few more items under his belt.
Yeah, absolutely. Rainy is kind of the hope of the team here.
We're going to be dropped. Griffin spotted out. Scatter the Weak going to be spell shielded away. And so the fear drops. Random player going to be picking up their 7th kill of the game. Make it 20 for the side of Ember Ignite. Really well done by the jungler of Ember Ignite. That being said, the response is to try to find a play towards the bot half of the map. Rift Herald summoned up in the mid lane. Going to be playing that mid lane tier 2. The ult drops down, going to be sending Eclipse away, surviving as long as possible. Rixalis does their best, almost nearly gets the kill onto Riddy, but just not quite able to get enough damage from the tower shot to be able to secure it.
Yeah, the Keeper's Verdict just going straight through the 2 guys that could actually tank the tower was just a little unlucky. Still bought a lot of time though. Poppy's very difficult to kill in the best of scenarios, and that wasn't exactly your ideal dive.
Yeah, and with how long it took, it allowed Ember Ignite to open up the inhibitor of the mid lane inhibitor of lane 0 Blizzard and pick up yet another Drake for themselves, putting Ember Ignite on Soul Point.
Soul Point and a 5,000 gold lead. It's just going to make the game even more difficult for the scaling side on Blizzard. Mundo still needs time. Level 16 is a big breakpoint, but he would really like to have another item in his pocket.
Yeah, and on 3 items now. Will be healing a ton with the Spirit Visage fully completed, but obviously mentioned the level 16 of the maximum dosage at its final rank is when Mundo really starts to go a bit crazy. As, of course, right as I say that, does tick over to level 16. So Rainy going to be a difficult target to kill, but right now, Ember Ignite have plenty of damage to likely deal with it.
Yeah, we're going to have to be relying on kind of the percent health damage in Hui's kit with the Fireball, the Liandry's. There's not a whole lot else other than Hui's QQ and Poppy's Hammer Shock that actually does percent health damage. You got to do a lot to cut through that Mundo with, I think he's sitting on already 5,500 HP right about now. 5,700.
Yeah, that's a pretty large chunk of a health bar. I mean, my favorite things when eventually get a look onto the Dr. Mundo is when you see each of the individual ticks, they start to just look like one solid bar as opposed to having the individual ticks between them. That being said, Ember Ignite going to be starting up the Baron, having seen Rainy in the bottom half of the map. It seems now lane 0 seem to be wise to what's going on. Not even going to place a ward over the Baron pit wall, and so no chance of a steal at all to the side of lane 0. They gift the Baron over to Ember Ignite.
That just kind of looks like the second time in the last few minutes that there's just been sort of a vision failing for the side of Blizzard. Syndra getting picked in that blue side jungle was just... that's lit up like a Christmas tree for the side of Ember, and there's no wards at all in there for the side of Blizzard, and now...
oh, Paranoia drop going to find its way onto Rex's, who does flash away immediately. Hextech ultimatum drops onto random player. There's not much of a return. Super blast code over the wall finds its way onto Rex's, who will likely eventually go down. That being said, Rexalis lost in the mix. Flash forward from random player will finally finish off the kill, but it's a bit too far separated from the rest of Ember Ignite. Shutdown goes into the hands of Viridian. Now the maximum dosage pop from Dr. Mundo running forward down onto way. Mundo goes wherever he pleases. Rainy picking up that kill. Not even going to, I mean, you can't even notice it. He's taking a ton of damage, but all healed right back up perfectly. Riddy the one to get the kill onto Rexalis.
That's the power of that max rank.
Rainy might be a bit of a problem. It's been all Ember Ignite up until now, but Jesus.
Well, the important part of that is look who wasn't in that fight. Yunara. Nutty One was up in the top lane taking a tower, while the rest of his team got absolutely run down by this Dr. Mundo, who just put 2 kills in his back pocket. That's got to feel really good for the side of Blizzard. It's going to give them sort of like a foothold to get back into this game now.
Yeah, and so even though they find themselves almost 4k gold down, or almost 5k gold down, more like 4,500, Ember Ignite has the games in Riddy's hands for him to go wherever he pleases. The aim of the game being said, Baron still in the hands of Ember Ignite, though admittedly so far not really been able to use it to really much success.
They really need to find a way to start another fight where Yunara is just not there or can't join. Or they need to land a crazy stun onto her and just one-shot her immediately. Because that fight went really well without all that extra damage from Transcend oneself and the Arcs of Ruin flying in.
Gathering going to find its way onto the Nocturne, but Syndra going to be yeeted away, and so the Paranoia goes straight into the back line from random player. Can't quite find the target that he wants. The curtain will be called. First shot, second shot, going to all be into the hands of the Poppy. Wild Growth used onto the Nocturne. Gatherweek on the angle, not quite going to find the marks. Mundo still 4 health, but the Jhin and the Trundle not going to be able to say the same, and so with no one else to help out Rainy, and with Nutty One alive, that'll be 3 kills going unanswered into the hands of Ember Ignite.
Yeah, that's about a Nutty 1 million worth of damage. A little aggressive onto Mitch there, but not going to follow up on it. Just trying to keep Griffin alive. Keep the wave clear alive as long as possible while Nocturne just goes and solos this Chemtech Soul.
Yeah, and with 16 seconds left on both Riddy and Rex's respawn timers, Ember Ignite aren't going to look for the end just yet, as we mentioned, picking up that Chemtech Soul. Won't be feeling quite good. Wait, not quite going to hit the mark. To finally land the fear on to Eclipse, but still, at the end of the day, the main point is that is the Chemtech Soul into the hands of Ember Ignite, and random player will be able to use that to some extent. I mean, Rexalis as well, going to be feeling quite good in their hands, though the most important thing is that there's absolutely no chance for it to be claimed by lane 0 Blizzard.
Yeah, kind of their last big chance in this game is going to be, like, if you can steal this Baron, that's great, but if you can force a flip on the Elder Dragon, that's kind of going to be your win angle here, I think. Like, Dr. Mundo has proven to be a big problem, but no one else is really causing enough threat onto Nutty One, and he is just able to sit back and put out so much damage in these fights, and he's so safe with that Lulu right behind him.
Yeah, 12, 1, and 3 on the Inar. Paranoia going to be dropped, finding its way onto Rex's, and there is enough damage to just take him for 100-0. And with Nutty One arriving, will transcend oneself. Not quite going to have enough damage to find the kill onto Riddy, but still a very good pick going over to the side of Ember Ignite. Going to get themselves a little bit more gold. There's nothing quite on the map for them to take to truly make it a devastating play.
Yeah, the spot lane tower makes sense as the next focus. It's the only one left alive outside the enemy base, and it's got a ton of crystalline buildup on it. Might as well just knock it down while you have the chance.
Yeah, not unless Griffin has anything to say about it. And in fact, they do not. So, bot lane tier 2 goes into the hands of Ember Ignite, and just going to push their lead even further now, sitting around 7,500 gold on top. Oh, wait, hold on. We're on Vision on this recall. Doesn't look like Eclipse and Riddy, they'll have something to say about this attempt to escape, though I think it was thwarted, and the spidey senses of Ember Ignite were definitely tingling, and they listened to them and get out.
Yeah, I mean, Eclipse might have just barely shown on that blue ward down in the Tri-Brush down there. But other than that, it was probably just kind of a sensation of, I don't know if this is the safest recall in all the world. We might as well just come back all together, find somewhere safer, get back to base, and then set up for this Baron that should be rightfully theirs.
Yeah, and I did like the look from Lane Zero Blizzard, trying to wait out a few of the recalls as they were started at different times. It's always a fun thing to do when you notice that happening as a player when the opposition has a split recalls and then you find the one straggler being able to pick up that kill. Would be a pretty big one as well, considering Barrett is now back up and available. But unfortunately not going to quite go the way that Lane Zero Blizzard would have particularly hoped for.
And we're looking at 2 3/4 until this Elder Dragon. I'm sure that they would really like to just secure this Baron and use that pressure to end the game before the Elder spawns at all.
Which they will try to do now. Started up by Ember Ignite. Will be spotted out by Lane Zero. Baron down to 5k HP. Paranoia dropped forward, flashing over the wall from Riddy to get onto the Baron, but the side of Ember Ignite have fully pulled off it. They move back now to make it a coin flip for the Baron. Smite comes down, gets into the hands of Riddy, claimed by Lane Zero Blizzard, as they have now tried to escape as quickly as possible. They have the empowered recalls to be able to do so. It doesn't look like Riddy will be able to escape, will he? Riddy running as quickly as possible, getting chased down by a random player, throws up the pillar, and all 5 members of Lane Zero Blizzard escape with Baron buff.
That's step 1 of the comeback heist. Now all you gotta do is use that Baron to try and get yourself an angle on this Elder Dragon coming up in a little under 2 minutes.
Yeah, and we'll also, even if they can't find a way to use the Baron to be able to deny the Elder Drake, it does help nullify the missing inhibitor that they have in the mid lane. To be fair, not exactly the most crucial inhibitor to be missing, but the ability to push out these waves also going to help the side of Lane Zero Blizzard just ensure that Ember Ignite doesn't have a chance to really start it up for themselves.
Well, just in case you think that I'm overstating how important Nutty One is to this team right now, the difference between Nutty One and Rex's is basically the entire gold gap between these two teams. We need to make Blizzard needs to make sure that Nutty One cannot play a fight the way that he has been playing the fights so far. I'm not sure how they're going to manage that. They got to land a really good scatter of the week and just follow it up with a full send. But they need to do something to make sure that Nutty One isn't just going to run over this fight by himself.
By doing that there, though the scatter of the week did come up a little bit short on the Yunara. Other important things to note, random player also has the Guardian Angel in their inventory. Scatter going to hit its mark onto the Lulu, now half HP on low group, flashes away, Paranoia drops, but is completely has the health bar removed, goes bit in too deep. Guardian Angel popped, and he keeps alive long enough for Nutty One to get the kill onto Riddy. Dr. Mundo having his health bar slowly chunked down, the healing not quite going to be enough. Double kill for Nutty One. 3 now goes the way of Ember Ignite. The option for Eclipse to go in with the X-Tech ultimatum, not going to do all too much. And now Rex is the only one left alive for lane 0. Blizzard eventually gets run down. Ace to the side of Ember ignites. And our undefeated team here in the Blue Otter Master League, the only undefeated team remaining, now pushed to the edge as Ember Ignite take game 1.
And a dominant performance. Nutty One just absolutely put that game on his back.
Oh, yeah.
Can't wait to see these damage stats, because I think they're going to
random.
be quite something.
Yeah, I mean, Nutty One. I mean, especially considering that in every single one of those fights basically had to remove the Dr. Mundo's health bar twice. That alone is going to pad those stats quite a bit, being 61,000 damage for Nutty One. But also,
that's a little bit of damage.
That is quite a bit. But also, I'd like to point out how much random player also did to be able to, affect these lanes early on and really propel Ember Ignite into the position for Nutty One to do what he did.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Paranoia was used, I would say, pretty well across the board. I think there was maybe 1 or 2 in the entire game that didn't result in a kill or a 1 fight. And mostly that was just on the back of pretty defensive play from the side of Blizzard. So can't really fault him for that. But yeah, Nocturne was just causing so much trouble for the Jhin and the Syndra in the back. He was making really good use of that spell shield to make sure they could not get away.
Yeah. And so Ember Ignite move themselves on to match point. We will send it to a break, but when we come back, it will be the draft of game 2 here in the Blue Otter Master League. We will see you in a little bit.
Let's go, let's move side to side, let's go. Let's go, let's move side to side, let's go. Let's go, let's move side to side, let's go. Let's go, let's move side to side, let's go. Let's go! Let's go, let's move side to side, let's go. Let's go, let's move side to side, let's go. Let's go, let's move side to side, let's go. Let's go, let's move side to side, let's go. Come on, everybody, bring it in.
And we are back for the draft of Game 2 between Lane 0 Blizzard and Ember Ignite. Lane 0 Blizzard going to be changing over to blue side. And so for Game 2, we'll have the correct colors of these two teams on their respective sides.
It's always nice aesthetically just to
Yeah.
have like, oh, this team has blue in their logo, this team has red in their logo, and they're swapped. Nope, this time,
Yep.
right on.
Yeah. All those years of seeing 100 Thieves on blue side playing either like Cloud9 or Team
Liquid on
Liquid.
red,
It's like yeah.
Get back over there. You belong on blue.
Yeah. But either way, moving on. Band staying relatively same from Game 1. At least with the Karma and the Senna. Now the Nico and Draven taking off the board. Obviously, this is the big moment that we wait for to have some change, and with the Kazakhs taken away from the side of Lane 0, that does leave open. Hold up, I do remember. No, give me a second. It was Ashe. Ah, yes, of course. Which does leave open the Ashe for Lane 0, and at least assuming it doesn't get banned away, and potentially could get some pretty interesting dynamics in this draft, considering how important Ashe Seraphine has been in the meta.
We can take away the Anivia, actually. Interesting. Okay. I mean, I would expect to see this Ashe locked in then, since Blizzard made the conscious choice of leaving it available. But it's going to be the Xin Zhao.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ooh. Okay, so that does mean Ashe Seraphine available to the side of Ember Ignite. Should they go for it? It is such a strong bot lane combination. I'd honestly be a little bit surprised if they don't, but the Lee Sin hovered? I mean, we've talked about in the last game how much focus they put towards the bottom lanes, and then for them to not pick it until later in the draft was a bit of a surprise. But considering how long we're being stuck on the Lee Sin, it's locked in.
Well, it looks like jungle is more important to these teams. They just want to take out some of these maybe higher priority or more niche picks that they just don't want to deal with. I know Draven's a pick that you don't really ban away unless there's a Draven player involved in the game.
Yeah.
And Senna and Karma, both just kind of generally strong, kind of irritating to deal with. But seeing Xin Zhao Lee Sin as the first two picks, I mean, that's a dynamic jungle matchup. I always like to watch those two.
At least since such an aggressive jungler has been back in the meta, especially in Eastern regions. I know he's been played a lot in LPL this past split, but Ziggs going to be pairing up alongside it, which is again not a lot of focus, despite the focus in the bans towards the bottom side. Be focusing on the mid jungle for the side of Ember Ignite. And so Ashe Seraphine, there we go. We finally get it. I mean, it's open.
Drops down to blue 2 and 3. Might as well take it.
If it's available that late and you get them right at one after another. Heck, I mean, it's such a potent bot lane and provides so much utility. It's so aggressive. It's actually it's disgusting. It's ugh.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see a support locked in here. Like a Blitzcrank could be fun. Thoughts? Blitzcrank?
I mean that feels fun.
Nobody? Is it? Are they saying it's Recon? Is that why they're covering it as a ban? Scion. Okay.
Scion.
So
okay. Well, I mean, it's a really good blind top laner. Scion is insanely potent, and it's such a good blind pick. Is always relevant, and ever since Gwyn was gutted quite a few patches ago now, it basically has no counters. No insane hard counters anyway.
Yeah, his early lane can be like a little bit abused. He's had, I think, some mana cost adjustments lately that make him a little bit less safe. So there is kind of like these early bullies. A set can kind of do some work on him early just with that extra % health damage on the knuckle down. But I wouldn't say that these are necessarily just great picks in the meta in general. I could see a Gwen working here, just having the Ashe and Seraphine to play with, if Blizzard wants to take that route. But I think Sion's just a really good, safe blind overall, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I've seen Aatrox do okay into it as a typical another option. And even the Rek'Sai, though, that's more so one that you have to be a little bit more practice on, and it's not one you can necessarily easily just pick up and be ready to go. And the Darius also one of them, because it's easy to get the pull with the Decimating Smash, so that will be taken away from the side of Ember Ignite, wanting to protect this on as much as possible so it could scale comfortably.
Yeah, take out that Gwen too. Why bother having to deal with it if you can just not? It does make sense with that team comp, as I said, but I think it's pretty wise to just get it out of there. There's not a whole lot of great tools to deal with a Gwen on the side of Ignite right now as it is.
Yeah, especially the Ziggs, not at all great for dealing with Gwyn once Gwyn is immune. But Leona going to be the lock-in for the side of Ember Ignite, so leaves a potential ADC R5 pick. Also can technically be a mid laner, but that's not exactly the most common thing we see on red side, though. That is what Ignite have opted for themselves.
I wouldn't be shocked if it was a flex pick. We did just come off of Nutty One having a pretty crazy game, so it feels pretty weird to be like, nice job on that game, bro. Go play Ziggs.
Here's Ziggs.
Yeah, but, so maybe they're just kind of calling their shot like, hey, Ziggs is just going to farm up in mid lane, and we're going to leave some crazy pick for this R5. Let Nutty One go crazy again. But in the meantime, we got a Cassante answer. I'm a big Cassante fan. People used to know me for Cassante. And I think that's a pretty reasonable matchup into Sion. The Pathmaker is just a really good tool for dealing with that Decimating Smash or the Unstoppable Onslaught. And in All Out, you do eviscerate high health targets.
Yeah. So the Victor going to be locked in on the side of Lane 0 Blizzard. We have a very standard team fighting draft from the side of Lane 0, and Victor definitely makes up for the damage that was lacking in Lane 0's draft up until this point.
Yep, he'll need a little bit of time to get there. He really does need to get at least those first 2 upgrades so that his Death Ray has the Aftershock and then he has the extra safety. Ooh. That's still kind of a flex for that Tristana. It could be mid, it could be 80 carry. Victor needs a little time to scale up.
It definitely has the valid arguments for both, though. I kind of want to see it going into the bot lane because Tristana Leona is such a strong all-in lane. Obviously, against the Ashe Seraphine, you will have to seed the level 1, just like, it's just not even playable. But once you hit that level 2 and level 3, the amount of all-in potential with the rocket jump, with the Zenith Blade, and the explosive charge, it's so incredibly high that Ashe Seraphine, while definitely should be able to play it out comfortably, they step just a little too far forward without having poked down the Tristana, could be absolutely devastating for them.
Oh, for sure. I mean, after the game we just saw out of Nutty One on the Inara, Tristana feels like a very natural follow-up to it.
Oh, yeah.
Very big reset potential, big pop-off potential. Look for a Penta watch.
Okay.
And like a lot of good frontline to play behind with the Scion, the Lee Sin making trouble in the backline, and then Leona dropping Solar Flare on 3 very immobile backliners for the side of Blizzard.
Yeah, and so very, I mean, I guess with the Ziggs as well, not only in how snappy the comp can be from the side of Ignite, but also just the champions locked in a very explosive composition from them. That can definitely remove a few of these key members of Lane Zero very quickly to win the fight before it's even started. But if they are unable to do that, the extended fight from the Seraphine, from the Victor as well, might potentially cause some trouble for the side of Ember Ignite. So we'll see if this burst from Ignite can be enough to send them to a sweep over against the only undefeated team remaining here in the Blue Otter Master League, or if Lane Zero Blizzard can cool things down and send us to a game 3. We will find out after this short break. Don't go anywhere. Well, I suppose. Okay. Oh wait.
Let's go, let's move side to side, let's go. Let's go, let's move side to side, let's go. Let's go, let's move side to side, let's go.
We are back, ready to go for game 2 between Lane 0 Blizzard and Ember Ignite. Lane 0 Blizzard, in this best three, will have to win this one to be able to send us to a decisive third game. While Vision on top of the map dropped down, defensive from Riddy. But meanwhile, Rexala is able to find an angle to get a ward right where you'd want to on that top side of the jungle.
Riddy spent a lot of time in this blue side jungle here in game 1. Except this time, now it's his jungle.
This is true. It didn't work out for Riddy all too well either. The first time around, it almost did, but well, almost only counts in hand, shoes, and horse grenades. So, and actually,
Almost the way that goes.
No. So here's the thing: is the lore behind that one is that one time I accidentally said that, but that kind of just proves the point of the actual statement.
Oh, so now it's on purpose. Gotcha.
So now it is on purpose. Yeah, hand, shoes, and horse grenades. That's how I roll. Either way, moving on. It is in fact the Ziggs for Nutty One and not the Tristana. So Mitch going to be bringing their hands on the marksman for this game, and we were kind of talking about it in the break how it does feel a little bit difficult for the Victor to be able to handle in the early game.
Yeah, once Tristana is able to just hit that rocket jump and drop right in on Victor's head, there's not a lot that he can do until he has that gravity field, and even then, he just has to drop it and walk away.
Yeah, and well, hitting level 3 now for Griffin, at least for the time being, is able to get a minor health advantage as a result. But in terms of advantages, the Lee Sin having him quicker clear than the Sin Shell, trying to find an angle on the bot lane for a random player instead. Just going to head back to his blue buff and eventually going to arrive again. Technically, the Scuttle Crab will be spawning soon, and with the recall from Rex's, it's not nearly as one-sided as we would have expected in terms of push, though the Cole advantage is in favor of the Ashe.
Yeah, they kind of gave up that push. They had it all the way shoved into tower, but figured they might as well just take their recall, go get a call, wait for this to be a bit more of a playable lane state. Now we have
level 3 is available for everybody. Clin's going to be dropped by Rex immediately and then flashing away, taking down to about 1/3 HP, but not quite dying. And so the response gank counter from Riddy gets the first blood, and random player in a load of trouble tries to find a way in onto Rex's to trade it back, but is unable to. Nutty One going to cleanse despite not having been CC'd. 2 kills go the way of Lane 0 Blizzard, and is much better from them in game 2.
Oh yeah, it's so hard to make a play onto this Ashe Seraphine. Even in the early game, as long as they're able to land a slow, the Seraphine double cast beat drop is able to do so much work. Catching and stunning both random player and Loker there in that fight.
Yeah, and also Loker opting for the Glacial Augment instead of the more typical Aftershock, though applying some more utility when you do go in definitely makes you a lot more vulnerable in general, especially when you have that counter game coming through. And so 2 kills into the hands of Lane 0, going to be feeling really good. The recall also coming through from Riddy, going to be giving himself the Tunneler. Meanwhile, random player only going to have the 2 longswords.
It should be noted here, Victor is actually having a very good early game. There hasn't been a lot in the way of aggression out of Mitch here on this Tristana. And you kind of picked the Tristana to be able to be aggressive onto a mage like Victor. There just hasn't really been a play yet.
Yeah, Griffin hitting every single bit of poke they could possibly have. And obviously the all-in potential, or even just like the ability to jump forward and get a really good trade over for the Tristana, is really reliant on jumping in. But the few times that we've actually taken a look over to the mid lane, Mitch has been the one kept at arm's length by Griffin, who hits him with another E. So, I mean, the only time we've seen him use the rocket jump so far is been to escape from Griffin.
And that's not exactly what you're looking for. I think we really need to see random player make a play on this mid lane, try and break this sort of poke war that obviously Victor's going to win out on. He can poke from much farther away.
Yeah, and even if they do find a way forward, Griffin still full HP. Mitch taken down to almost half HP. No refillable potions. Or no more, I guess, uses of the refillable potions. Oh, hold on, get to that. But to the bot lane, once again, another 3v3 showing up. Double beat drop, finding the snare onto both Loker and Random Player. So Riddy picks up his second kill of the game. Ember Ignite just going to have to run away with their tails tucked between their legs.
They have ignited the offense in a way that they didn't really in game one. So it's nice to see them making just really good counter ganks, really. They haven't even been the ones setting up these plays. They've just been responding to them really nicely. Riddy has just always been in the right place to stop Random Player.
I don't know if this is exactly what Ember Ignite, or really what Random Player going to get over the wall. Loker now arriving, making this a 4v4, holding on to Zenith Blade as long as possible, gets the stun dropped onto the Seraphine. Drake goes away of lane 0. Griffin picks up one, gets another. So 2 kills over to lane 0 and the Drake. It's not ideal. Luckily, the explosive charge is able to trade 1 kill back over to Mitch, but it's starting to look really dire for Ember Ignite.
Not ideal might be a bit of an understatement. This Victor is looking pretty accelerated. He's already got his Hextech rate upgraded, and he's got 16 stacks towards number 2. It's pretty early in the game to already have that death ray upgrade, though.
Yeah, and also the 4 stacks of the Dark Seal from the double kill on top of that. Yeah, it's not great. It's just being so real. It is not great for lane 0, especially when you're locking in Lee Sin. I mean, that is a champion that has to get ahead early to really be relevant, and obviously can look really fun as well, do it in the process of getting ahead. But now sitting 0-1 and also quite a few camps down on Riddy. It's not necessarily completely irrelevant, since you can always find a few interesting angle on some kicks, but would be very difficult for Random Player to play things out.
I was looking at maybe being a bit of a scrap over the grubs, but it looks like Lee Sin is gonna canceling his recall. Actually, maybe there will be something.
I don't know if this is necessarily all that recommended, because Eclipse has roamed up to ensure that the grubs go the way of lane 0, which has sacrificed a little bit of pressure in the bottom lane. They do get what they came for.
Yeah, knock a few plates down, kind of equalize the gold a little bit, at least as much as possible. It's only a 200 gap between the Ashe and the Ziggs now. Feels a little bit better than where they were looking just about a minute and a half ago.
Yeah, and despite that, they still find themselves 2k gold down on the side of Ember Ignite. That's this early in the game is a pretty significant margin, and exactly going to be one that's easy to overcome. Rainy did that I didn't see the all. I'm going insane. I don't know why my brain thought it's all out, but talk about all in. Mitch going to try to fight onto Griffin. Buster shot, not enough to get the kill. And so solo kill goes over to Griffin, putting him on 3-0 for the game.
Just not quite enough damage in that Tristana's pocket. The little power transfer shield was more than enough to keep Victor up right there, and that trades back the kill because Tristana just barely clipped the edge of tower range and ate a couple of shots for her trouble.
Yeah, and it's never what you want to see when you start to go in. Loker going to get snared up. Eclipse going to survive and help him survive a little bit longer and wait for Random Player to arrive. But the amount of pressure that Ashe Seraphine has, the amount of vision that is available to Rex's and Eclipse in the bot lane, they will spot out the gank from Random Player. Rexus does have the flash, holds onto it. Slow does hit the mark. Mega Inferno Bomb goes over the top. They follow up with an insect onto Rexus, taking him back over to Nutty One. When he picking up a kill, and so finally a successful gank going the way of Ember Ignite.
Yeah, well played in the bot lane, but we still have a play here mid on Griffin.
Yeah, unstoppable onslaught going to come through, force the flash out of the Victor. Loker moving as quickly as possible, moving forward with the seismic strike. Shutdown gets its way to the hands of Mitch on the rocket jump.
Yeah, really good. Able to turn back a couple of kills that they really just kind of needed for a bit of a mental reset, I would say. Things are already looking to get a bit out of control, but now a couple of shutdowns in the pockets of or at least Tristana. She's got to be feeling a little bit better about this early game now.
Yeah, I would say quite a bit better. Should be able to recall, maybe not with a fully completed item just yet, but at the very least with a few components in the inventory, and importantly, getting the kill onto Griffin will also reduce the amount of potency that he has just a little bit with the stacks of the Dark Shield being taken back down to 1.
Don't see huge play angle here. Do have the Ocean Drag coming up in about 10 seconds. No Mega Inferno Bomb, no Dragon's Rage, no Unstoppable Onslaught, but also no Enchanted Crystal Arrow. I would still say this fight leans a little bit in favor of Blizzard. Encore comes out.
Encore is going to drop, hits its way onto Nutty One, dash forward with the audacious charge of Riddy, secures a kill to the side of Lane 0 Blizzard at a very important time, as you mentioned just 10 seconds ago. Drake spawning. No bot laner for the side of Ember Ignite means this one should comfortably go the way of Lane 0 Blizzard.
Yeah, Zig's left alone. There's not a whole lot he can do if he's going to get snared up by that Encore. Pulling him right back towards Xin Zhao, and a Xin Zhao on top of you is generally not the ideal way to be as a Ziggs.
No, not at all, especially once your satchel charge had already been used to try to escape initially, so well done by the jungle and bot lane of Lane 0 Blizzard. Hold on, Mitch going to be aggressed onto, but random player will try to find a gank. Dragon's Rage finds the kick, but kind of puts Mitch in a bit of trouble. Mega Infernal Bomb does hit Griffin. Random player now in the midst of everyone, but Riddy and Eclipse are arriving to counter this gank. And so Ember Ignites. Recognize they're in trouble, they move away, but now Nutty One stuck between Eclipse and Rex's will use the satchel charge to get over the wall. Loker will try to help out his fellow bot laner, but now in trouble themselves. Gravity Well not quite going to hit the mark. Solar Flare going to find the stun onto all three to be able to escape. Random player tried his best to save Mitch in the mid lane, but Riddy able to secure the kill under the tower, and with random player on basically no health, Griffin drops an auto attack. Not quite enough to secure the kill, but the burn from the Black Fire Torch does.
A little burn from the Black Fire Torch and the Death Fire Touch. I gotta say though, that was a really nice escape from Nutty One and Loker. They were just able to keep as much space as possible, and then a nice 3-man Solar Flare followed up by that Minefield meant that there was no real chase angle left for Blizzard.
Yeah, and what was a bit of a surprise though was the thing that I wouldn't quite get to see on our screens. The fact that Mitch went down, that Riddy was able to pick up yet another kill for 0-2 on the Xin Zhao. Been an absolutely pivotal part of Lane 0's lead that they've garnered for themselves, now sitting at 2,500 gold.
And as we were saying kind of in between draft and the start of the game, we were saying that we thought the first couple of dragons would be really indicative of how this game was going to go. It was kind of on the side of Blizzard to absorb the engages from Ember. So far, it kind of seems like they've been doing that the whole game, not even just at these dragon fights. We got a bit of a play on the mid lane here, actually.
Yeah, Rexalis going to use the Unstoppable Onslaught, taking down the half HP now, but the rest of Ember Ignite have responded in kind. Riddy going to use the Crescent Guard to be able to survive, and the Encore from Eclipse lands onto the front line of Ember Ignite. All out will bring Loker back towards the side of Lane 0, and finally Rainy the ones to secure the kill, but may have gone a little bit too far. Mitch going to find a return kill onto Rainy. Riddy very low, but not quite going to go down, and so random player with basically no health finally gets killed by Griffin. This is a wonderful play, wonderful counter engage from the side of Lane 0 Blizzard to pick up a 3-for-1.
Oh, this
they might find a bit more. Mitch in trouble, going to be snared up by Eclipse. The second proc of the Hextech Ray not quite going to finish off Mitch, but forces the Tristana to think twice.
The mid-jungle support on the side of Blizzard are doing so much work here. Ashe has been able to get involved as well through that Enchanted Crystal Arrow cross-map. I don't know that she's missed any yet, but I don't think any have necessarily hit onto the big priority targets. We saw one clip onto the Scion there after the unstoppable onslaught ended. But they're turning these fights around really well. It's usually Ember that's pulling the trigger, and it's usually Blizzard that's coming out on top.
Which is kind of the way that these fights were somewhat expected to go. Ember Ignite's composition, very much one that does want to be starting off these fights, and that was the thing, was if they could find these kills before Lane Zero Blizzard could respond, that they would then be able to use that to then sweep a fight, especially when you have the rocket jump resets from Mitch, but haven't been able to find it on the side of Ember Fox, and so the counter engages as the Enchanted Crystal Arrow, well, misses wide that time, but it's been very good absorption from Lane Zero to be able to survive these initial engages from Ember Ignite, and now with Ignite sitting as far back as they are in terms of gold, it becomes all that much more difficult for them to really do much of anything with their composition.
Yeah, we're already staring down what looks to be about a 5,000 gold deficit, about 4.5. And again, we're looking at a Chemtech Soul here. So I would say kind of valuable for both sides, probably more valuable for the side of Blizzard if we're being honest here. Cassante just operates lower on health when he is in a fight regardless, and Xin Zhao also loves to dive into that backline. And plus all the bonus healing from Seraphine.
Yeah, it is very difficult to deal with on the side of Ember Ignite, even as is right now, but with the Chemtech Soul on top of that, Rainey's basically going to be nigh on unkillable. I mean, look at how little damage 91 and random player with, Loker technically has a little bit, but those three champions alone do to Rainey, and it's only going to get worse if this next rate goes to the hands of Lane Zero. And barring a sudden change of form, you gotta feel that it's very likely going to be a quick soul to Lane Zero Blizzard.
Yeah, they're gonna have to find a way to really stabilize this game if they want to be able to drag things out long enough for Ember to just find a couple of picks before a fight. They just haven't really had an opportunity. The side of Blizzard has been collapsing on these plays so fast, and speaking of collapse...
Enchanted Crystal Arrow almost hits 91, but the Encore only going to tag Loker, force him back towards the side of Lane Zero. Seismic Strike not quite going to hit anyone in. So Loker left completely isolated. Rexalis' TP into the backline will have the unstoppable onslaught as the escape blocked, so the Scion going to have to flash away just to get the space he needs to escape. Decimating Smash will hit its mark onto Griffin. Mitch doing his best to auto away, but Rainey the only target he can really look for. So one kill goes the way of Ember Ignite, but it's only onto Loker, who through all that time is already back on the map.
Health bar is kind of getting a little bit low for the side of Blizzard, but not really low enough for there to be any threat of a re-engage on the side of Ember.
And without the Leona, it is also a lot more difficult for them to be able to find the gauge. Without the unstoppable onslaught either, they don't really have that ability to just snap on a moment's notice to go back in. Now with Loker back available, there is that opportunity, but both teams have since moved on from that little kerfuffle in the mid lane.
Solar Flare coming back up pretty soon here. I think it just ticked up over to available, and we're gonna have a pause actually. Hopefully there's nothing too crazy going on here.
Nothing too much, but to talk about things being a bit crazy, Griffin and Riddy definitely been a large part of the lead that Ember Ignite have garnered for themselves. 5-1-2 on the Victor, 6-0-4 on the Xin Shao. Griffin, also 7 stacks of the Dark Seal, has been able to be so safe and just dish out damage without much of a care in the world.
Absolutely. The Seraphine's also been really valuable. Actually has that Mikhail's in the back pocket just in case Ash or Victor gets caught unawares by a Leona combo. But I mean, that 3-man core has just done so much work in these skirmishes and bigger fights. Being able to extend that encore, being able to just make sure that Victor is connecting as many of those death rays as they can. They're just putting out a lot of damage and keeping everyone really healthy.
Yeah, and so we are back. Not quite entirely sure what that pause was for. There wasn't a disconnect notice, so perhaps slight connection issues with a little bit of latency, but luckily, whatever the issue is, it has been resolved in short order. Baron, as you see, just spawning on the map now, though not really much of a threat from either of these teams to really force the issue on the Baron just yet.
No, it would be pretty early, but we do see a play coming out on Rexalis here.
Yeah, we'll pop the unstoppable onslaught and will in fact go unstoppable. The audacious charge from Ready, not quite enough to stop Rexalis from rushing all the way back, but even then, Scion, despite not having the most impactful game so far, being the fact that it was a little bit quiet for him up in the top lane, is really difficult to truly threaten with any sort of kill.
I get one difficulty for this Tristana mid that I guess we didn't really talk about is that since you have Scion and Tristana, Cassante just gets to itemize completely into armor and be pretty unconcerned about Ziggs. He's never going to be in a 1v1 against a mage. He doesn't have to really itemize into MR. It makes it even just that much harder for either one of these side lane threats from Ember to do anything about him in a 1v1 scenario.
Yeah, and our sidelines for the most part have just been Rainy and Rexalis just staring at each other, picking up farm. The honest life of a top laner. Maybe not the most exciting one, but will both eventually become quite useful for their teams, whether it be Rexalis' ability to just stand there and absorb a ton of pressure without dying, or Rainy's ability to do either the similar or even find a way onto the likes of Nutty One, especially with the all out.
Yeah, the flexibility of Cassante is what makes him so attractive to the competitive scene as a blindable top laner. He's definitely not as blindable as he used to be, but the ability to peel or engage has just been such a standout part of how Cassante plays.
Yeah, and it wasn't even blinded this time around. Obviously, it was picked into the Scion. So there was absolutely no danger for Rainy, and still kind of at this point, not much danger for him either. The Tristana only at 2 items for Mitch, so not really at a point where you could truly start to tick away at the Cassante. And as you mentioned, with the fact that Nutty One's really the only source of AP for the side of Ember Knights, doesn't really need to spec into the MR as much, has completed the Jack show. Protean, so we'll have a little bit of MR that will stack up with time in combat. But Drake also, speaking of spawns, now available, and there's
that's
there's
just
not even
soul.
going to be there's just no response at all from Ember Ignite. Clearly uninterested in being able to pick that up, and so now Cassante with the Give Tech Soul will be doing quite a big chance. A Crystal Arrow from 50 miles away lands its mark onto random players. That being said, only Rainy and Eclipse were nearby to truly follow up on it, so they will get out Loker way too far away from the rest of his team.
Yeah,
Not
looks
quite
like
sure what they're
Loker,
doing there.
Loker's just going to be the sacrifice. Loker has given up their life a few times in this series, just trying to make sure that other people can escape. It looks like there's going to be a bit of a Baron play off of this, since we're looking at a 4v5 and random player being very low on health. All that's still available for Cassante.
There is a way back in. It would be a steal for Ember Ignite. Lee Sin is a pretty decent stealer of neutral objectives, and they do have the advantage of moving from the red side over the Baron pit. Enough pressure has been applied onto the side of lane 0 Blizzard for them to think twice about taking the Baron there.
Yeah, they were all really grouped up on that Baron, so that lightning strike that rained down did a lot of damage to all 5 members, and they kind of had to give some ground just to make sure that they weren't going to get engaged on out of nowhere.
And so they wait a little bit longer to try to start up the Baron once again. It is the only objective on the map for the next 4.5 minutes. Where the Elder Drake 2 come up and available. Be all the focus, all the rage, if either one of these teams can claim it, though very likely, especially coming from the with Ember Ignite coming from the red side, that Lane 0 Blizzard have a pretty solid chance of picking up for themselves, even if they don't get the Baron.
I will say if there is a silver lining here for Ember, it's that they have stemmed the bleeding a little bit. They're only down about 3,300 gold now. It felt like they were down 5 or 6k not terribly long ago. So if they are somehow able to steal this Baron away, maybe pick 1 or 2 in the ensuing fight, they could be very close to equalizing.
It would be a very big moment for this game should that happen. Riddy going over the wall, is trying to steal away a few grubs for himself, though I'm really not going to lose too much in the process. Random player now not quite going to hit the Q. Jessica Hero hits the mark onto Lee Sin. Random player going to have to dash away. Solar Flare going to dissuade any sort of engage. Super Mega Infernal Bomb hits the mark onto all the members of Lane 0 Blizzard, so they are taking quite low as a result. They do have quite a bit of healing with the Chemtech Soul and Eclipse's double use of the Seraphine W. Baron started up, but all 5 members of Ember are still alive. Random player moving over. Loker will be spotted out. So, and same as random player. Baron down to 3k HP. Random player comes over the wall and unable to steal it away. Riddy on perfect timing with the smite. Unstoppable Onslaught not quite going to hit anybody. Rexalis full health in the midst of everyone of the side of Lane 0 is a massive Q3 from Rainy, moving everyone from Ember back towards Lane 0 with hardly anyone left for the Ignite. Double kill picked up by Riddy onto Rexalis. Only Nutty one left alive. Not quite enough to be able to fully end on likely with how low the respawn timers are at this point in time, but yet another big moment for Lane 0 Blizzard.
They should be able to crack this inhibitor tower at least. I don't know that they'll take the inhibitor itself, but if they'd just been able to get there maybe 5 seconds sooner, Nutty One was able to land a little bit more poke onto that back line. Oh, well, we got potentially a re-engage here.
Infernal Bomb hits its way onto Eclipse, doesn't quite hit the middle mark. Random player goes in, but there's not enough follow with only Nutty One and Loker, so immediately dies as a result. Loker doing his best, gets a stun onto Ready tier 3 tower, not long for the world, and so Loker dies once again, their 8th death of the game. Pretty long cooldown, 25 seconds until random player is back up on the respawn timer. Just might be the end that Lane 0 Blizzard are looking for. They're pushing straight on to the base with the empowered Baron minions. Encore only going to hit its way onto Rexalis, who will have to use Unstoppable Onslaught to get away. Rexalis going to go all out forward onto, Rainy goes for it onto Rexalis, and now with the kill, dropped up to Scion, and the Nexus opened up. A complete utter stomp from Lane 0 Blizzard. They were in control all game from minute 2.
Yeah, that's the flip side of going for that Baron steal, is if it doesn't work out, it can lead to some real disaster, and disaster is kind of what struck there. There were so many staggered death timers there at the end, and just really well played to keep those death timers staggered as the play progressed. They were able to just snowball that advantage straight into the end of the game.
Yeah, it was very comfortable from Lane 0 Blizzard. I mean, it really speaks for itself with the 10k gold lead. The Victor 8-1-6. Griffin on that performance is ready as well, 9-0-7. Just generally an all-around performance from the side of Ember Ignite. Eclipse also having a few really good encores as well. And so it just all came together perfectly for Lane 0 Blizzard, equalizing the series at 1. So we will send it to a short delay, but when we come back, it will be the final draft of the night between Lane 0 Blizzard and Ember Ignite. We'll see you in a little bit. Welcome back, everyone, to the final draft of this Blue Water Master League matchup between Ember Ignite and Lane Zero Blizzard. Once again, we're getting a change of sides. Ember Ignite moving back to blue side, in which blue side, so far tonight, has looked the far better side to be on.
Yep, even if we're ruining the aesthetic balance of having the red team on red side and the blue team on blue side, it is 2-0 so far. See if it's going to be a 3-0 or not.
Yeah, and as we get into our first round of bans, staying roughly the same as we saw before, both the Draven and the Senna taken off the board. We've seen a lot of bot lane focus in these bans, but despite that, Finbach, a lot of the picks so far, at least early on, have been focused around this mid jungle.
Yeah, the jungle has been really important. It seems like they've been locking in jungle pretty much 1-2 on both sides. Wouldn't be surprised to see maybe Wukong or Jarvan prioritized pretty heavily here. They're kind of the best of what's left.
Yeah, and I mean, 80 bruiser junglers have been the meta junglers outside of like 1 or 2 patches for the last 2 years or even more. And it still remains true into halfway through 2026, and there's a little interest being shown to have that changed up, which, to be fair, in my personal opinion, I don't mind all too much. I think the likes of the Vi and the Wukong are very fun champions to see. But once again, a lot of focus towards the bot lane. In terms of bans, Anivia going to be taken off the board this time around, though, from the side of Ember Ignite. I know Griffin does play quite a bit of Ryze, the mid laner of Lane Zero Blizzard. Wonder if they pick it up here with the Anivia off the board to ensure that it doesn't get into the hands of Lane Zero.
Lucian also taken away from Ember Ignite. I wonder if they were going to be looking for a Lucian Nami here, but we're going to see Varus locked in, so breaking the streak of first pick junglers lately.
Yeah, jungler or the mid laner as it was in game 1. The Varus lock-in or the side of Ember Ignite, very likely going to be towards the ADC role. Obviously, top lane Varus saw a bit of play earlier in the year. Was the flavor of the month for a little bit, though kind of died down a little bit in popularity as a counter pick. Does leave that option potentially open, but the response for Lane Zero will be the Sivir with the ability to go late and the ability to just clear out and nullify the game as long as possible. Not exactly what we've seen a lot of so far in the series, but the option that Lane Zero are going for.
Now, Sivir does love a nice front-to-back death ball comp, though, and Rumble, I would say, does play with that pretty well, able to just drop the equalizer and then use that extra move speed from On the Hunt to chase down any stragglers. I would say they've put together at least the very bare-bones skeleton of a team fight comp. Let's see if they're going to round it out with a few more engaged picks.
Yeah, that is a little bit necessary for the side of Lane Zero's comp. Obviously, still very early in the draft. There are the likes of the Nautilus still up and available to go for on side of Lane Zero, and Jarvan was obviously available. It will be the choice for Ember. Orianna still open in a classic combination and would kind of fit with what they're going for so far. The question is, do they go for it here, Finbach?
I think it would be a pretty good fit, considering that Sivir will have a very difficult time spell shielding the E, the Q, the Cataclysm, but actually it's going to be Galio for a little bit of Hero's Entrance on top of a Cataclysm. I can get down with that.
Yeah, and also a good counter pick into the Rumble. Just though
this can't be a real hover.
This is not.
Let's slow down.
Is the zero shot. This is real. We're not falling for the bait. The Galio is going to the top lane into the Rumble, which does mean mid lane options are still open. It's a bit scary that they're hovering it as long as they are, though. 3 seconds left. Surely, no, they're just bait. Okay, there we go. Finally. Okay. Yeah.
I look so smart. There's the Jarvan and the Wukong. Oh, just kidding. It's Skarner. I'm down with the Skarner, actually.
Yeah. Obviously could use the Cataclysm against Jarvan is one of the fun interactions, but also just generally a really good team fighter. We talked about that. We were want to see from the Sivir. Skarner definitely, be it the Ishtal Impact, come from 50 miles away, absorb a ton of damage. Also the Impale, such an impactful ultimate.
If you're going to pick up Varus and hold him right on top of an Equalizer for its full duration, that will do a pretty good amount of damage to a squishy AD carry. If they're able to grab another backliner, it's just as well. I don't know if the Galio is going to be top lane. They could still flex it to mid, theoretically. But either way...
Yeah. I mean, it is technically a flex angle. I would be shocked.
Yeah.
Personally. It would be the most unheard of thing out there, because like Rumble, I mean Galio is the response into the Rumble, and I mean at least has been for at least this year. Has been picked up probably even longer than that, but a lot of support, a lot of focus shown towards the support pool in the second round of bans. The Milio, the Alistair, and the Rel all going to be unavailable.
The Milio and Alistair bans definitely feel like we're going to try and enable this Skarner here. Alistair able to just break free and pulverize the Skarner so he can't drag the team where he wants them. Milio just able to cleanse his allies outside of that Impale as long as he's not one of the ones that gets caught. Just two really valuable ways to counter the Impale, which is sort of the linchpin of the team fight right now, taken off the board.
Yeah, and so Rakan now also going to be taken away by the side of Ember Ignite, suspecting that the support is going to want to go with an engage option, but there is still one option available, or at least one notable one still left. That is the Nautilus. See if lane 0 opt into it. It's given a while. Instead, it'll be the Thresh. Not exactly the most like all out snap engage, but still the death sentence can be used as a long range engage, and also Thresh, very defensive, helps get your Sivir out of trouble with the Cataclysm as well.
Also helps kind of keep the Jarvan at bay in the early game. You're able to flay him out of that Demacian standard Dragon Strike, flag and drag, so that you can keep your Sivir from getting, you know, a Jarvan on her head while she's knocked up into the air and getting shot down by Varus and now a Zyra. That's a lot of poke damage in that bot lane.
Oh yeah, and a lot of range, a lot of ability to push out as well. And Zyra is a historical counter to the Thresh. Really, anything that can put up like summonable targets, like the Zyra with her plants, is really good into hook champions that whose ability doesn't go through them, because once, especially Thresh's death sentence takes such a long time, all things considered, to be able to wind up. It's really easy to say, oh well, he's hooking, let me just block out his ability to hit us with some few plants, and then completely negates it.
The last time I played support and I was playing a lot of Thresh, the Zyra was always the matchup where I was like, oh
yeah, it's devastating.
Now I don't get to have
crushing.
fun.
Yeah,
it's her and Morgana. Both of them are just like, oh, I guess I just don't get to do anything in lane. Understood. But Zyra, Orianna, Galio, you're looking at a really heavy magic damage comp. Varus actually does a lot of magic damage too with detonating those blighted quiver procs. We're gonna see a Silas R5.
Ooh.
Okay, I can kind of get down with that. There's 5 good ultimates on the side of Ember Ignite.
Yeah. I mean, the hero's entrance, a really good one, allows you to be anywhere. Obviously, the shockwave from like your fellow mid laner, I mean, you just place it on yourself to extend the burst that you get on the Silas, as well as just generally being a solid CC tool that will, you know, be the front line to get rid of, if you hit the Varus, especially, completely removed from the game as a result. So yeah, Silas going to have plenty of choices here. Though admittedly, going into the Orianna will be facing a little bit of trouble early on with the ranged V melee matchup.
Absolutely, it's going to be really valuable to maybe go the Akali setup with the fleet footwork and the Doran's shield just to try and survive that early poke. Orianna has access to not a ton of damage, but very frequent damage early on with the command attack and just her clockwork wind up auto attacks. So just being able to survive the extra damage coming your way will be really valuable, because you're probably not going to get a ton of Kingslayer healing.
Yeah. And so on the side of Ember Ignite, a lot of wombo combo potential, but same thing can be said on the side of Lane 0 Blizzard. Both teams opting for a strong team fight. Going here into the final game of the series. We'll see who can play it out better. Once we've loaded onto the Rift, when we come back, it'll be the final game between Ember Ignite and Lane 0 Blizzard. Don't go anywhere. Oh. And welcome back for our final game of the night between Ember Ignite and Lane Zero Blizzard. And coming into this one, we got two teams that have gone for some very fun team fighting comps. But I mean, and taking a step back for the season as a whole, Ember Ignite win here for them would put them in a very good spot to claim a top 3 position in their in the Vandal City group, which would give them the first round bye. Meanwhile, Lane Zero Blizzard, a win here from them would continue their undefeated season. Since it's not quite hitting the mark, they would continue their undefeated season and also secure themselves at the very least top 2 in the league. So would do a really good job for them to first of all claim that first seed, but also secure themselves that said first round bye.
Yeah, I think just in terms of the stakes of the match, like I know playoff seeding is in the picture and all that, but the momentum of this is so important for going into playoffs. Coming in as an undefeated team for the side of Blizzard would definitely put a lot of expectation on you to kind of dominate your way all the way to the finals. Some players don't love having that expectation put on their shoulders. And on the other hand, if you're coming in as Ember, you're a team that was kind of in the middle of the group, you come and you finally knock off a team that's been undefeated all season, that's got to feel fantastic going into a best of 5 against a team from the other group next week.
Yeah, definitely do a world of wonders for Ember Ignite. Also put some perhaps a slightly higher expectations on them, being able to win against an undefeated team. Admittedly, it's not exactly been the best season for them so far, so maybe not exactly the most ever, but as mentioned, that feel-good momentum could work wonders for them. But we were talking about this mid lane matchup earlier. Griffin has gone for the Ignite instead of the teleport and has actually taken Mitch quite low. Ignite dropped onto the Orion, but not quite enough to be able to secure the kill.
Not quite. Yeah, Griffin, I was just thinking, like, that's a pretty bold setup. He didn't take the Doran Shield. He didn't take much in the way of defensive runes. He may have Resolve as a secondary for a little bit of that second wind healing, but definitely willing to play pretty aggressive, and it's working out for him so far.
Yeah, but Mitch does have the teleport, so we'll only miss out on those 2 minions that we saw claimed by the tower, so not going to be too perturbed, at least for the time being. Obviously, if Griffin finds another angle in, could definitely shift really quickly, as no teleport available on Mitch as of now.
Looking in this top lane play a little bit. Random player might be looking to get a little aggressive onto Rainy.
Yeah, the vision will be spot out the gank, but the Justice Punch alongside with the Shield of Durand extends the CC. Flag drag hits the mark on the flashing Rainy. First blood goes over to Ember Ignite.
That's just a great flash follow at a random player, confirming that kill in the top lane. Galio is able to handle Rumble pretty well. He's definitely able to handle him much better if you're able to give him just a little bit of help in that early game. Get a little extra MR online early.
Yeah, and also pick up a flash advantage as well. Eclipse's death sentence not going to hit the marks, pushed very far forward. As a result, that being said, Rexus continuing to go forward onto Nutty One. It's a good use of the spell shield from Rexus to prevent the piercing arrow to the damage there onto the Sivir. I don't think this is exactly, it could potentially be a dive angle with Riddy in the area. Another one is very low. We'll try to use the install impact now. Will be snared out of it, but no damage done just yet. Flash forward with the flay, and the hook on the flash away from Nutty One secures the kill for the side of Lane Zero Blizzard. They're going to look for more onto Locker Tower. Aggro tanked up by Riddy, who has the health to get out with the flash. Double kill for Rexus.
Well played dive, and it gets ahead exactly who you want for Blizzard. Sivir is the driver of this team comp, like we kind of talked about in the last game. She's going to be putting so many ricochets through this team comp, and even more actually, because she'll be able to bounce them off of Zyra plants as well, which might extend their range.
Yeah, it is. If Ember had anything else to worry about, That's definitely not going to be ideal. Not quite enough, apparently, to come back with a BF sword on the recall, but a pickaxe and 2 long swords going to be getting a very distinct advantage towards Rexus and the bot lane of lane 0 Blizzard. And well, could definitely see a split across the map into where the focus is, but in terms of what the advantage is to be, the Galio not going to nearly do as much as compared to Rexus on the Silver.
Well, importantly, the first blood kill did go onto the Jarvan, which will help because Jarvan can get onto the Sivir pretty easily. Spell Shield will not prevent the rocks from going up on the Cataclysm. I do think that Sivir's probably building a Essence Reaver as her first item, so that does not have a BF sword in the build path.
That's a valid point. Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, the Rumble is going to be pretty important in terms of just putting out AoE damage in these team fights. So as long as Rumble is able to kind of stabilize, get some farm, get a couple of items in his back pocket, he'll be okay.
Yeah, and it is something to look for time being. Hex flash forward from Eclipse, hanging on to the death sentence as long as possible, trying to target Nutty One because the option is that the assumption is Loker is dead, and in fact, Rexus will pick up their 3rd kill of the game.
3 kills for Sivir's feeling really good right now. Your big backline threats are just not really online yet. The Jarvan Orianna combo is going to be super important just to be able to try and shut this Sivir down before she gets going.
You know, the thing is, you say before she gets going at 3-0. I mean, obviously, Sivir, much more of a late game threat, but being able to accelerate quickly to that point, Griffin going to go and hijack away the ult of Mitch. Will be able to get the kill on the Ignite, but random player is there to be able to trade it back 1-for-1.
Yeah, 2 kills onto your Jarvan feels pretty decent, and I guess the assist on Orianna is sort of a consolation prize here. But Silas is doing pretty well in this 1v1 and looks to be picking up a Dark Seal, going to continue to try and press the advantage.
Yeah, and obviously if you just have the gold available for not much for else, the Dark Seal, giving a nice small injection of damage and can potentially be an investment that comes out all right. Rex is going to Spell Shield away the snare of Loker, so we'll be all right. Focus once again towards this bottom lane does show up because random player is here on the bottom half of the map with Loker and Nutty One nearby, both hitting that level 6, or actually Nutty One only hitting the level 6, sorry, correction there, but not going to look to make a play in the bot lane.
You see Riddy up here on these grubs, does have the Impale available, Rumble teleporting back in. Also has Equalizer available, but no one else is really moving to react on these grubs so far.
And so already very likely to be able to claim them uncontested away from the side of Ember Ignite. Not going to have a chance there, which does mean that we're now almost 10 minutes into the game in which the first Drake is still yet to be claimed.
Yeah, that is pretty interesting. It's a mountain dragon, which feels like it would be pretty nice to have for both sides. Extra resist for your Galio or your Thresh and Skarner just is pretty nice, as well as counteracting some of the burst coming out of, say, a Jarvan Orianna jumping on you. We'll see which side is able to kind of establish their priority and move on it. Looks like maybe we have Blizzard headed that way right now.
Yep, they obviously have a lot of push in the bot lane with Rexus on the Sivir constantly pushing out. Hold on, Mitch in a bit of trouble. Will dodge out the Ishal impact. Cannot dodge the abscond abduct of Griffin. So it's a 2nd kill of the game towards the mid laner of lane 0 Blizzard, who now find themselves up 5-2 in kills, about 1k in gold, as they turn their attention to the Drake to make it an even bigger lead for themselves.
There was a little attempt to get on Rexus here, but he did have his flash, did have Spell Shield, did have On the Hunt, was able to just kind of run away at top speed from the encroaching Zyra and Varus. It did lose Stranglethorns in the process, so they won't have that for a contest on the Dragon. But actually, there's not going to be an attempt on the Dragon yet.
Not yet. And with Mitch teleporting back to the mid lane, gotta feel that it will very likely be a little bit more until we actually see a start of Drake. Of course, why did I say that? Flag dragged over the wall from a random player to start up the Drake without having the vision of the Scuttle Crab pot them out. But you see the Stealth Ward would have eventually seen it. Hold on, Hook finds its way onto Nutty One. Box drops down. Rexus finds their 4th kill of the game onto Nutty One. That being said, shut down with the Shockwave. Picks up 2 in favor of Ember. Ignite follow over the wall from random player. Triple kill for Mitch. An absolutely massive moment for Ember Ignite, especially as it looked like the game would slowly start to get away from them. Loker in trouble, moving forward on Griffin, not quite enough to get the kill. A 4th for Mitch goes unanswered. Kills go back 6-6 level again. Health bar is a bit too low to finish off the Drake, but a huge turnaround for Ember Ignite.
We've stopped the dragon. Hallelujah. Ember was just in a much better position than that dragon. They had 4 in the area. Griffin was a little slow to respond, and that's the downside of not having access to that teleport. He had to walk all the way there from base, so they tried to take a 3-man engage, and they just weren't able to get the job done before Orianna showed up to turn the numbers.
Yeah, and so now Mitch 4-2-1 on the Orianna will be pivotal for Ember going forward, sitting up 1k gold over Griffin. Such an important advantage as well, especially in this lane matchup where Griffin has gone the Ignite, has that extra kill pressure. Given that extra gold to him will make him just all that much more capable. And 8 stacks on the Dark Seal as well, picking that up at such a perfect time.
I mean, what you can absolutely say right now is that both teams have their money basically exactly where they want it. I think maybe Blizzard would like to have a little bit more money in Rumble's pocket, but with your Silas having a couple of kills and Sivir having the rest, you're feeling really good. And the same is true for Jarvan and Orianna. That's the main combo that's going to be trying to shut down the Sivir.
And it is a really potent one for Sivir in particular, not having any innate mobility outside of a bit of movement speed from On to Hunt. That does not get you out of a Cataclysm. That being said, with the Flash, if it's up and available, will perhaps give Rexus a little bit of breathing room, as well as the Lantern from Eclipse can also be used. But Loker in trouble, completely collapsed on by everyone from lane 0 Blizzard. Another kill going over to lane 0. Just a very good setup. We didn't quite catch, we only caught it from the corner of our eyes, so not quite entirely sure the exact process of that one, but still, any kills are kills. You'll take it up, especially when you get another one over to your Sivir.
Yeah, absolutely. I had it over on my screen here. It was just a good death sentence, good vision control from the side of Blizzard setting that one up. No ward available, and it was a death sentence onto the Zyra
ulted there.
Yeah.
Did you see that?
I did, yeah.
Don't. Not like,
Interesting.
Anyway, yeah.
We move.
Yeah. That's one that's luckily not the longest.
That's when you say, don't worry, it'll be
ever.
up before the next fight.
To be fair, it probably is the case, considering there's another 3.5 minutes until the next Drake spawns, and no Rift Herald on the map. So that is very, very much possible.
That death sentence
likely
barely didn't latch onto the Loka there.
Yeah, even if it did, I'm not really sure how much Eclipse could have really done by himself.
He was pretty much right there.
Griffin going out to flash away from the Shockwave. Did manage to hijack away the hero's entrance from Rexalis though, but Griffin may have gone a bit too far forward. He will eventually arrive with the hero's entrance over the top to continue the CC chain. Rexalis the one to secure the kill. Equalizer going to drop over the top. Eclipse finds his way onto Loker, ready one with the kill, but quickly going to be traded back. Double kill for a random player who's burnt down by Rainy. Eventually they've got Nutty One, a rising piercing arrow going to do a big chunk of damage onto Eclipse, but not quite finding a fully way onto the Thresh. Death sentence not going to pick out Mitch. Piercing arrow tags Rainy, not enough to secure the kill. So we move away. Kills going 2 for 1 in favor of Ember Ignite.
I believe it was 2 for 2. Loker also died. It was just so
Loker
early
at the
in the
very
fight
beginning.
that he's
right,
already back.
Right. That is true. That short-term memory completely gone. Or I guess, nah, that's short-term memory enough. Completely gone.
We saw a little bit of that ideal combo coming out of Blizzard, though. We did see a triple impale, a little bit of equalizer on top, just kind of a few seconds late, but still able to do just a lot of damage in the middle of that fight. And also Sivir ricocheting all those auto attacks all over the backline, doing a ton of extra damage.
Yeah, and it was a bit funny to see. Personally, with Griffin stealing away the hero's entrance and then dying from leading the line, being unable to use it, and then being killed by Rexalis in the way that it would have preferred to use that ultimate. Instead of ready, pushing forward, we got random player and Loker on the move down. Nutty One also going to spot flag drag, going to hit the mark on to Ready. Doesn't have the Ishtal's impact to escape. Going to be snared up. Lantern there, going to get Ready on out of there. Not going to be committing any sort of wards to prevent the escape there from Ready.
Stranglethorns and Shockwave invested means that there's not going to be a couple of big teamfight ults should they choose to move towards this Rift Herald. You see a bit of a scuffle here in the top lane, but Galio does have some MR built up. Rumble is not going to do too much here.
Yeah, and obviously on top of the innate MR of Galio. It's the reason why it is commonly what we see. And with Loker moving up to the top lane, Rexall is going to hit the Justice Punch and the Shield of Durand. Rainy going to do their best to escape. Equalizer going to drop, doing their best to try to trade it onto Rexalis, and he does. Rainy stuck in this corner. Flash forward onto Loker to try to make it 2. Health bar just too low.
Just didn't quite have that scrap shield cooldown. Maybe 1 second later he's able to turn it and finish him off, but it's impressive enough that he got the 1-for-1 in that 2v1.
Yeah, and the fact that it also looked as close as it could have possibly done. I mean, with no health left, took out a good chunk of Loker's health bar, and it does ensure that the Rift Herald goes into the hands of Ember. Going to be able to use that to crack open a few of these turrets, maybe the mid or top lane, considering the amount of plates left on those would all but ensure that those turrets would go down. Loker and potentially in a bit of trouble. Luckily, Spiders are there to find out Eclipse, but the Drake started up by the side of lane 0, so the Rift Herald gets summoned up in the mid lane by Ember. Try to force a response out of lane 0, who don't have nearly as many members. Griffin on the flank will hit the ult onto Nutty One. Hero's entrance, though, from Rexalis will separate things out needed for Nutty One to survive, but Nutty One on the wrong side of the map will eventually go down over to Rex's. Death Sentence going to hit the mark onto random player. Cataclysm will hit Rex's, but it's a bit too separated out from Mitch. All the while, Eclipse taken very low. The Q finds the kill over to Rex's. But we turn our attention now down to Mitch and Loker. Flash forward from the Skarner, gets the slow, finds the kill onto Loker, but Rexalis in the backline finds a low HP Rex. So Rexalis in the midst of everyone, tanks everything up. Mitch gets the kill onto Rainy, and this Riddy, the only one left alive, has no damage left in the tank on the side of lane 0. Blizzard double kill finds its way over to Mitch. It's a messy fight, but Ember Ignites come out the victors.
It's a 4 for 3. I'm losing count. These fights are going so long.
It's going forever.
To keep track of. And they're so even, too. We're at 19 minutes. This is the closest any of these games have been. We're only at a 300 gold gap.
Yeah, 20 minutes. It is technically, officially a gold lead of 100 to lane 0 Blizzard, but, I mean, it's completely negligible. It's bounced
with
on
one dragon apiece. The only difference here is that Blizzard has those 3 Void Grubs.
And honestly, Void Grub's obviously a bit impactful. Griffin going to hijack away the Shockwave, flashing to be able to secure the CC. Shockwave response from Mitch, only going to tickle Griffin. Abscond, abduct, hits the mark. Griffin finds a solo kill onto Mitch. Loker also getting pushed out away from the Baron pit. Rexalis now getting collapsed on by Riddy and Rainy. and slowly burnt down. Will be forced to flash away. Random player's flag drag, not quite going to hit the mark. Kingslayer going to heal Griffin up. The abduct not quite going to get the knock up as the Cataclysm sends random player unstoppable, but with the jungler of Ember showing in the bot lane, lane 0 turns straight onto the Baron.
Yeah, showing in the bot lane, they're down at 20% HP. Even if he gets here, he'll be easy to pop. They're still going to look for a contest here.
Down at
6k
HP. Rexall is going to find the ton only on to Riddy as Rex's spell shields it away, but Eclipse separated way too far out. Nutty one to secure the kill. Random player at half HP, but now onto the Baron. Can Riddy find a way back in? Not with the taunt hitting the mark, and the Justice Punch follow up. The Equalizer hits everybody, but there's just no other damage available to lane 0 Blizzard to follow up on it. Baron goes the way of Ember, and it's a huge swing over to the favor of Ember, finding kill in the bot lane, also hightailing it up to the Baron, and still managing to pick it up for themselves.
It looked like just a bit of a misstep from Eclipse there. Not healing off in the same direction as the rest of his team means he just kind of gets trapped in no man's land there. Throws out the hook, barely misses the Zyra, and then gets rooted up and taken out. And the fight just kind of evolves from there.
Yeah, a bit too disjointed from lane 0 Blizzard. Not quite quick enough, didn't have nearly as much damage as they would have thought to be able to burn the Baron down with random player in the bot lane, and so they pay the price for it. Luckily, the as even as the game was, they don't find themselves at too much of a gold deficit, but find themselves on the back foot with a Baron push. Luckily, Rexus on the Sivir should be pretty good at being able to nullify that.
Those minions are still pretty difficult to kill, especially those melees early in the game. This was a 22-minute Baron, which is extremely early. We also have to consider the fact that the main reason that the gold is this close, despite the Baron, is that the turret score was 2-0 in favor of Blizzard. So now Ember has the chance to grab a couple of turrets for themselves. They should be able to pull that gold lead up to maybe 3,000 or 4,000 by the time this Baron wears off if they play it right.
Will be on them to do that. A lot of lane 0 Blizzard are on the top half of the map. Excuse me. The bot side of the map also available. Rexall now in a bit of trouble. Shielded Durand going to find the stun onto Griffin and Eclipse are the two to try to find the play here. Abscond, Abduct, Nutty One going to find, hold up in the mid lane. Nutty One gets a kill onto Rexus, and Rexall not even going to die in the process. And so the play attempted from lane 0 Blizzard going to be punished hard by Ember Ignite, going to be picking up that tier 2 mid lane tower as a result.
That's the thing with this Galio. He's shown into so much magic damage on the enemy team here. Blizzard has Rumble, Silas, Thresh, Skarner, all doing a pretty solid amount of magic damage. And he just gets to build MR and say, what are you going to do about it? He's able to buy so much time that they can take a 4v1 play in mid and take the tower and rotate down to bot and take a tower.
And so the gold lead extends to 3k HP, just as you had calculated, Finbach, into the favor of Ember Ignite, who are searching for the final bye-week spot here in the Blue Otter Masters League. Also looking to upset the odds up against the undefeated lane 0 Blizzard, and are currently on pace to do just that.
Absolutely. It's going to be a matter of kind of not getting too crazy, because Griffin has shown the ability to just kind of obliterate somebody in a side lane or in a 1v1 scenario. If they make a couple of missteps in a row, they can really open the door for Blizzard to find control again in this game.
Being said, Griffin will have his flash coming off of cooldown right about now. I called that a little bit too soon. But it is in fact going to be available, but no Ignite for Griffin. Does, I mean, at this point, only slightly reduce the kill pressure that you can have in a side lane. Not having that teleport, though, on the mid laner, definitely going to reduce the options of lane 0 to be able to make the plays that kind of need to at this point in the game.
I just took a look at Jarvan's inventory. I'm very much enjoying seeing the components of a Zanya's Hourglass in his pocket here. It's a nice little engage tool. You can just fly into the back line, give your Orianna a nice angle for a shockwave, and then say, I'm going to go golden. The rest of you have got this under control.
Yeah, the ability to go into stasis, always a bit of a fun, not a very orthodox move from the jungler of Ember. Ignite, but definitely one that has pretty solid reasoning behind it. I mean, if you are a bit squishy anyway you're not the most tanky of champions on the Jarvan. Obviously, decently tanky. Let's not confuse things here. But being able to be completely undamaged for, gosh, what's the exact duration? It's like 2.5 seconds?
2.5 seconds, yeah.
Okay, thank goodness. Wait, before we get to that, Abscond of Duck going to hit the mark on to Nutty One. Shutdown gets into the hands of Griffin. With the help of Nutty One's own Chains of Corruption, a massive pick goes over to the side of Lane 0 Blizzard. And a lot of gold into the hands of Griffin.
That's almost exactly what I was talking about. They needed to be able to play safe and not give Griffin these crazy angles to find picks. It isn't the most valuable target right now. Varus is doing okay. We would have really liked to see that onto like Orianna or maybe Jarvan. But hey, money in his pocket is money in his pocket.
Yeah, it is. I mean, you'll absolutely take it at this point in the game. Impale going to be dropped down onto random player caught out, trying to buy himself as much time for the rest of the Ember Ignite team to arrive, but it's clearly not enough time. Shutdown gets its way into the hands of Rexus as well. Baron spawning in 3 seconds, no jungler on the side of Ember Ignites, is an absolute blunder for the team that just a few moments ago had about a 3k gold lead. Hero's entrance will come through to try to stop Griffin. Taunt going to hit the mark onto the Silas. Nutty One to secure the kill, but Loker quickly followed up on Rexus, the one to find it with the auto attack. Rexalis stuck in the middle of everyone, going to have to flash away, which gives the flash forward from Rainy onto Mitch. Not quite enough to secure the kill, but the rest of Lane 0 turned their way on. A good death sentence from Eclipse ensures that they can't escape on the side of Ember Ignite, and so they only lose Griffin in the process, but pick up yet another 3 kills. Apparently, they're not going to try to start up the Baron once again, as random player has respawned. But I gotta feel that with his numbers advantage, they probably could have tried it.
Now, realistically, I think it was the smart call to not go for that. There was always the chance that Orianna could go back and then TP out to the map, and then you have a Jarvan Orianna while you have 3 players at around half HP. That's a pretty dangerous proposition when the game is this close.
That is a fair point. But it will be back up
Jarvan might find himself in trouble
player. Again. Yeah. We'll just flag drag over the wall. Mitch also in the vicinity with the shockwave ready to go in case if it got any worse for random player. But he does get out. Drake spawning up now. It would be soul point to the side of Ember Ignite if they did pick it up, but only that. Going to put a lot on the table for this play. Flag drag comes in. Cataclysm drops onto Rexus. Kimtech Drake goes away of Lane 0. Griffin in the back line, not finding his way onto me. So Rexus gets the kill onto random player. Equalizer going to drop, force the flash away from Nutty One. Shockwave going to find the kill set up for Rexus to go the way of Lane 0. The impale from Rexalis, sorry, not the impale from Rexalis, the impale from Riddy. So many R names in this game going to hit its way onto Rexalis, making it a 4-0 fight over to Lane 0 Blizzard. And a few moments ago, Ember Ignite with a 3k gold lead completely disappeared. Now 4.5k over to Lane 0 Blizzard, as well as Baron within their eyes, as there's no one left for Ember to stop them.
I mean, they're all just doing their job really well in these fights. Riddy is being a nuisance. Griffin is just on the flank, absolutely harassing the backline, always threatening to dive. Sivir's standing and delivering when it comes to those ricochets and the on the hunt. And Thresh is peeling so effectively that there's just no threat onto this Sivir.
Yeah, 12, 3, and 5 on Rexus with the guard. Oh, well, had a Guardian Angel. Decided to change up the build there instead of going for a lot more damage. So The original statement of having all that extra survivability not quite going to come through, but instead sit at 5 fully completed items on the Sivir at 30 minutes is absolutely massive for lane 0 Blizzard.
Yeah, this gold lead is turning into a bit of a problem. We already talked about the fact that Sivir scales up into the late game tremendously well, and she is 1 item away from being completely stacked up in terms of the items. Varus is only at 3.5, and he's building defensive.
Yeah, and so, I mean, Rexus going to be a huge target for Ember to be able to claim. They really haven't been able to find a kill onto the ADC of lane 0 Blizzard. Now with Baron in the hands of lane 0, they'll push and claim that bot lane tier 2 tower. There's a decent amount of wave clear available to Ember, so it's not exactly the easiest ever for the side of lane 0 to fully push in, but we've got a Sivir clearing away these waves. Still be tough for Ember to handle.
Sivir absolutely eating these waves for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They're getting 0 relief from this shove down in the bot lane. Hex Flash, not going to go over the wall.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the. It's always one of those. Hex Flash is one of those abilities where you can just kind of think about it and then decide not to. No harm, no foul. Jilla Duran going to hit its way onto Riddy, who is extremely tanky at this point in time. Death Sentence going to tag Rixalis. Not exactly one that the side of lane 0 can fully commit on. Hero's entrance stolen away by Griffin. More of a one that you follow up on, and considering how much Griffin has been taking the initiative on these flanks, maybe not one that they've been used to its fullest potential, though on this siege, maybe a little bit easier to do so. Random player going to be hit by a death sentence from Eclipse. Not quite going to be a death sentence for random player, but going to be forced away back to the fountain, giving a little bit more time for the side of lane 0 to push in further. Hero's entrance going to find Nutty one, but immediately the counter Hero's entrance from Griffin will secure the kill on to the Varus. Rexus left completely alone, autoing away. Random player will get ready, but that will be it for Ember Ignite. And it's a very clean fight going the way of lane 0 Blizzard. It's a 2-1 for our undefeated team here in the Blue Otter Master League. There are a few question marks after game 1 with how dominant Ember Ignite were in that, but at the end of the day, they're able to remain undefeated going into playoffs.
And I would say almost this feels like an even better victory than that game 1 super dominant one, because you were hanging in there playing a really tight game with one of the best teams in the league. So now you get to go in and be like, hey, I just did this to an undefeated team. I can do this to anybody.
Yeah, for Ember Ignite, they definitely kept themselves in it, kept things interesting, and even for a moment there, looked like they would be the one to be able to take home the win and upset the odds and get the victory over lane 0 Blizzard. But now with the loss this week on the 2-1, there is technically a possibility that they can overtake their sister team with of Ember Phantom 5. The other Ember team in the Vandal City group, assuming that it does go 0-2 away from them. However, it does seem that with this loss to lane 0 Blizzard, they will more than likely have to play in the wild card matchup against the what would likely be the 5th seed of the opposite group here in the Blue Otter Master League. So unfortunately, it would have been great for them to be able to pull off the victory, pull off the upset. But as you mentioned, it would give them a ton of confidence going up against a team that they would expect to be not nearly as strong as lane 0 Blizzard have been all season.
Exactly. I mean, the whole series felt like a pretty good. There was definitely game 2 was maybe one that you would write off a little bit. Blizzard came out, they were angry, they played angry. But I mean, this was a really good game right up until Blizzard just kind of got the chokehold.
Yeah. And so with that, congratulations to lane 0 Blizzard on their 1st seed in the Bandle City group here in the Blue Otter Master League, and their undefeated regular season. Well played to Ember Ignite for taking them the distance and really pushing them to the very edge, to the brink. And that'll be it from us tonight. I'm Isaac. Alongside me has been Finbach. Running things behind the scenes has been Call Me Soul, a new person to the producing scene. So give them a hand for putting on this show for us. And from everybody at the Blue Otter League, we wish you a good night.